let's get some headlines from across the state of Texas, and we will start with some pretty sizable news down there in San Marcos. And that is that Brady McBride, the quarterback for Texas State, has announced that he is entering the transfer portal. He is heading to the transfer portal. He has been he finished high school at Coppell in 2019, signed with Memphis, spent 1 year there before transferred to Texas State. He sat out in 2019. He was their quarterback for the majority. They kind of shuffled some things around, but for the majority of 2020 and 2021, he started 15 games over the last 2 seasons. He started the first 7 games of 2021, lost his job to former starter Tyler Vitt. I would say that he was a little bit of up and down. McBride, his career there at Texas State was up and down. So what's the big storyline here? The big storyline here is that we thought that Texas State was going to be one of the few programs in the state that had some sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Some sort of consistency, some sort of stability at the quarterback spot. Mm-hmm. That will not be the case because McBride is now in the transfer portal. We'll see where he lands. And Tyler Vitt's not coming back. Tyler Vitt did have 1 season of eligibility left because of the COVID year. He's opted not to do that.
Well, that's the thing about McBride. He has 2 years of eligibility left, which seems like the 18th year senior, you know.
Yeah, he's got a lot. He's a redshirt junior, basically. So he'll have 2 years of eligibility left. But Tyler Vitt's going to graduate in May and go off and do his thing. So yeah, Texas State will have a new quarterback in 2022. That's pretty big news down there for in what I would classify. I would classify as a pretty make or break year for Jake Spavital down there at Texas State. He'll have to do it with a new quarterback, and we will see what they end up sorting through. So that is one thing to keep an eye on. And then, by the way, their spring game is April 9th, so maybe we'll have a better view of how things feel there whenever we get to the spring game. Speaking of transfers, this is not a Texas college product, but it certainly has Texas college ties.
Texas high school ties.
Texas high school ties, and potentially Texas college ties. And that is that that Demetrius Davis,
remember him?
The quarterback from Galena Park, North Shore, one of the most decorated quarterbacks in Texas high school football history. Who, of course, he was the guy who threw the Hail Mary in 2018, led them to another title in 2019, led them to the semifinals in 2020. He signed after the 2020 season with Auburn to go play at Auburn. Auburn, he has now announced that he is entering the transfer portal. Now, Auburn's been on the move recently. There's been a lot of Auburn in the news. For first of all, Brian Harsin, the coach there, there's just been a lot going on with him.
Yes.
Just a lot going on with him. He was going to be fired, then he wasn't going to be fired. He's going to get he got the vote of confidence, so he's going to be the head coach. They've, of course, moved some things around. And Demetrius Davis at the quarterback spot, you may remember that they picked up a transfer in the offseason. Most notably, they picked up Zach Calzada. Mm-hmm. Zach Calzada, who was the starting quarterback for Texas A&M whenever Haynes King went down. He led them to that win over Alabama, et cetera, et cetera. So there's certainly a lot of moving parts there. But Demetrius Davis looked around, and he sent out some sort of tweet that basically made it seem like he felt like he wasn't wanted.
Right.
And so,
which is interesting by saying Zach Calzada is wanted over Demetrius Davis, but to each their own. They see something.
Right. So where could he land? Right? Who could use now? Here's the thing. He's a redshirt freshman, so he's got basically his whole career in front of him. Yeah. He did not. I don't believe he took a snap. Maybe he took 2 snaps.
Yeah.
For
and if they did, they wasn't a pass.
Yeah, it wasn't. He didn't factor in any sort of meaningful way. So he's on the market. Who's in the market for a quarterback that could use a guy like that? I would look at a guy. I would maybe look at Houston. Mm-hmm. He's, of course, from the Houston area. I think he would be a decent fit there for that kind of offense.
Yeah, you let Clayton Tune finish it out.
One more year, and then
you're basically the guy.
The heir apparent. Same thing goes, I would say, at TCU. TCU is they're probably looking for whoever is going to be next after Max Duggan. Maybe Chandler Morris is that guy, but certainly Demetrius Davis would certainly give a push. Maybe it's a place like SMU. Rhett Lashley looking to make they've got another incumbent in Tanner Mordecai. He's got 1 more year of eligibility, and then who knows what's going to be there. He could also go out of state. Those would be the three programs that I think immediately feel like a fit in state for Demetrius Davis. But it'll be interesting. Certainly to see. He was a high-profile quarterback who landed at Auburn. He is going to transfer now. We'll see where Demetrius Davis ends up. Speaking of the transfer portal, we were supposed to do this last week, but we didn't have a show on Monday. But speaking of SMU, they are losing one of their most important cogs of their offense from last year. And that is Ulysses Bentley IV. Ulysses Bentley, who, of course, was the star running back for them, especially in 2020, but also very good in 2021. He is transferring, and he has announced that he is going to transfer to Ole Miss. He was an outstanding piece of the SMU offense last year, and Rhett Lashley is going to need to find some answers there. Now look, there's some other guys that they feel pretty good about.
Oh yeah.
But I think they feel like they can get Brandon Upton a few more carries and he could take over. But as far as known commodities and guys that you feel like you can rely on, then certainly I would say now they do have Trey Siggers back. That's right. He's got one more year of eligibility. I keep seeing senior and thinking like, oh, they're going to graduate, but that's not true. Trey Siggers is back. He was the leading rusher last year. But what really made that offense cook in the past couple of years was that they had kind of a stable of running backs. Maybe it's going to be Trey Siggers and Tyler Levine. Maybe it's going to be Brandon Upton getting some run there. But they will need to find a new part of that stable as Ulysses Bentley is transferring to Ole Miss.
And man, that announcement didn't take any time at all. No. It was basically I'm in the transfer portal, and then knew exactly where he was going.
Let's talk about Dave Campbell's Texas football cover boy. Back in 2013, Johnny Manziel has announced that. Not announced. I don't think it's probably, I don't think it's fair to say.
It's not worthy of an announcement.
So he is going to. So Johnny Manziel has basically said that my football career is in my eyes over. He is going to play in what is called the fan-controlled football league, the FCF. He's going to do that for another year. It looks like it's kind of like an arena football league. They've got a bunch of kind of wacky bits.
I wonder when the XFL makes its resurgence if that'll change his mind.
Right. But he has said that he's going to play this year in the FCF, an Atlanta indoor. Plays in an Atlanta indoor facility. But he said that he said that this is something he just wants to do for fun. He just he's out there kind of having fun playing, throwing the ball. This is the Quavo, the runner, the rapper. This is kind of his league. It's his money. It's his money that kind of fuels the league. He told ESPN, quote, "This is the way a way to go out and compete and have some fun on a way smaller scale. I don't have the drive to play football at a high level anymore. I don't have the drive to be the best football player anymore that I used to have in my life, and I'm okay with that. I've come to terms with what my football career was and what it is, and now I'm trying to figure out how I can stay entangled in the game, but from a different position." So Johnny Manziel is more or less saying that if you're dreaming of that comeback, you're dreaming of that one more run in the NFL or trying to make a team or maybe even the XFL or there's the USFL, which I think is coming back. Kind of sounds like
probably need to look somewhere
else. Rule that out.
Yeah.
To the high school ranks, couple of things that I want to bring up. One of them came down last week that Lubbock High has made a hire. Lubbock High, the Westerners have been looking for a head coach. Shane Stephen was the coach last year. He will not return for 2022. They have brought in the head coach at Corpus Christi Carroll, Juan Rodriguez, to be their next head coach. Moving from the Coastal Bend up to the South Plains, Juan Rodriguez will be the new head coach at Lubbock High.
And that concludes their coach. They had 3 out of the 4 jobs open, with Coach Mann being a first-year head coach last year. So it was like a lot of switch going on over there.
And finally, I want to bring up our friend Dan Gainey. Dan Gainey has retired there at Colorado City after a long career there with the Wolves. He was he went out the way that he wanted to. He was they were able to end a long losing streak this past year, and he is now going to go out on his own terms. The reason I bring up Dan Gainey is longtime listeners to Dave Campbell's Texas Football may remember that he was a guy who put together one of our favorite interviews of all time. Dan Gainey was, he's been the head coach there since 2013, had a couple of really good years in 2017, 2018. I believe in 2017 was when we had him on, maybe 2018. we had him on just to talk about his Wolves. I think it was in the offseason, maybe after that 2017 season. And it was Max and I sitting here talking with him, sitting in our old office, actually, talking with him. And he was coming to us from a
golf tournament.
From a golf tournament. It was a regional golf tournament in Midland, I believe it was. And I kind of closed up the interview. He was sitting on a golf cart, talking with us. Closed up the interview, and I said something along the lines of like, "Well, Coach, we certainly appreciate your time. Congratulations, a great year, and enjoyed the offseason and enjoy that golf tournament there in Midland." Mm-hmm. And his reply was something along the lines of, "Yeah, whatever." He was not.
And then he legitimately hung up after that. I'm pretty sure.
He was not. No, he invited us to come out to Colorado City.
Oh,
but then he was like, "Oh, appreciate it." But he was
he
very clearly
not
into the golf tournament that he was watching. And so, yeah, he would be if so. Dan Gainey has retired. We certainly wish him, a friend of Dave Campbell's Texas Football and a friend of Texas Football Today, the best going forward. Those are some headlines.